Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video. There's another paid request this time for Charzhino. Thank you so much for that. And for those, really appreciate it. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos or topics, reactions, whatever the case may be, tier lists, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. PayPal is usually the best bet. Links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for the 2000 film Bring It On. And it's directed by Peyton Reed, which I'm like, why does that name sound familiar? He would go on to direct the Ant-Man trilogy. He did the breakup with Vince Vaughn, but yeah, the Ant-Man films he did. And I guess, quick like, I could say I was not a fan of this film. Maybe this film just isn't for me. Kirsten Dunst and Eliza Dushku were not bad. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Honestly, the most fascinating thing to me was that this has 6 sequels. This is a 7-film franchise. Now, I believe none of the cast members come back for any of the sequels, but like Bring It On was 2000. I never knew this was such a big franchise, at least direct-to-video market. Bring It On Again, 2004. Bring It On All or Nothing, 2006. Bring It On In It to Win It, 2007. Bring It On Fight to the Finish, 2009. Bring It On Worldwide Cheer Smack or something. And then Bring It On Cheer or Die, which is a horror comedy, I guess. So yeah, 6 films. Well, now 7. There's 7 films in this fucking franchise. Jesus Christ. Who'd have thunk it? Pretty much Kirsten Dunst and Eliza Dushku. Okay, well, Kirsten Dunst has this nightmare that she gets chosen to be the new head cheerleader because the old one, Big Red, is stepping down. She has a nightmare that she's naked. We don't see anything, sadly. And she wakes up, start of school, gets there, and lo and behold, Big Red steps down and she becomes the new leader of the cheerleading squad. In the past, this squad called the Toros have won championships. And while she's adamant to win one under her reign, she pushes at practice and someone gets hurt and their leg or such gets broken. So she has to figure out what to do next. We need another person. They have auditions that I did not think were that funny. And Eliza Dushku comes in. And people give her lip, but she's able to showcase she's a gymnast. Kirsten Dunst wants her on the team. Then when they're doing a cheer, Eliza Dushku walks off, and Kirsten's like, "What are you doing? Let me show you something." They drive to where Eliza used to live. And you come to find out that the cheer they were doing was a stolen cheer from this other group called the Clovers, led by Gabrielle Union. And apparently Big Red, the former head cheerleader, has stolen this squad's cheerleading moves and routines. And now the Clovers are pissed, and they're going to get into the competition. Thus, Bring It On now is these two teams going to go at each other. Now, first off, I don't think Kirsten Dunst was that bad, which I despise her in Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. I despise her Mary Jane. But on the flip side, Jumanji, she did fine. And in this, for what she's given to do, same with Eliza Dushku. I like Eliza Dushku. I liked her in Wrong Turn. I think she was on the Buffy TV show, and I liked her there. Sadly, I don't know what became of her. Like, you don't really hear much anymore. I mean, I don't know what the last film she's been in. But I don't know, it just didn't seem that funny. It didn't seem. It felt like maybe it could have done a creative take, kind of like Best in Show, one of those where maybe if it was done as a fake documentary and you find out about this and maybe that could have been done, could have been a bit more creative and more clever. It just, I think it was Roger Ebert that said it best. Part Nickelodeon, part R-rated film, and it doesn't know what it wants to be. I wouldn't say Nickelodeon, but I get what he means. Where it wants to be silly and goofy, but at the same time wants to be maybe raunchy, but it's never raunchy, and it kind of doesn't know what it wants to be. And sorry that I'm struggling with this review, because I don't know what to say about it. Well, I was talking about, for example, when they're trying to pick a new teammate before Eliza Dushku comes in. It's okay, one cries. One can't get through a single hey there without screwing up. One's a male ballerina. One's a stripper. It just seems like the very obvious type of jokes that just didn't seem any cleverness to it. Or there's a flashback where Kirsten Dunst at camp had dropped the spirit stick, and now she thinks she's cursed. Just one of those things where you didn't feel the camaraderie of the team compared to other movies like Major League or that stuff, where you really felt the whole team had their own specific unique characters. Or I don't really feel it had as much development as it could have. In particular, because the Clovers, the competition, the way it's marketed, even the way the poster is, it feels like half the movie will be their movie. But it's not. They appear like once every 20 minutes or 30 minutes, it felt like. So Gabrielle Union and her team, it feels like they're in it for 10 minutes at most. You never see their side. Well, not that much. They're not as much as I thought they would, considering it's supposed to be this two teams butting heads together. And just once in a while they pop up, but it's mostly about Kirsten Dunst and her team, which I didn't really care about her team. I'm going over the place. I know it's a shit review. Just I don't know what to say about it. I guess cheerleading comedies just aren't my thing. As a 40-year-old guy, I don't know. There's a few bits that kind of made me chuckle a bit. There's one bit where the choreographer they hire, this woman, which I think her ass looks fine, but he's like, give compliments to your ass before it forms his own website. Something about that line made me chuckle a bit, maybe for how stupid it was. There's one bit where one of the cheerleaders is getting pissy at this person, and you find out the person she's pissy at is a little girl who gives her guff and tries to step on her foot. That little bit kind of made me chuckle. But it just has this very mad love story where Kirsten Dunst has a cheating boyfriend. She doesn't know he's cheating yet. But then she also falls for Eliza Dushku's brother, who is more in a band. And you kind of know where that's going, so it's pretty predictable. I said Gabrielle Union just comes off as very one-dimensional and bitchy and no development of her team. And it's like, I get her frustration, but she's taking her frustration on the wrong person. I'm like, take your frustration then on Big Red, but you're taking it on someone who's innocent. So while you get that, where she's coming from, Again, the fact that she's doing it to a person who doesn't deserve it, and because there's no other development of that character, she just comes off, like I said, one-dimensional and bitchy. And her team, other than being on a wannabe, it's not Oprah Winfrey, but it's like a wannabe Oprah Winfrey show, and that's how they get to the money. Just Tristan does tries to help, and Gabrielle Union's like, you just like white people? You want to give me hand-me-downs? I'm like, fuck you, lady. Fine, get some handy wipes and wipe your fucking ass and stuff in your face. Shut up. I just don't care about the cheerleading shit. I just don't give a fuck unless you got the titties out or the cooch out. I don't care. Unless it's a naked cheerleading practice, I don't give a shit. And then, like this one bit, they go in for this, I just trying to bid for a spot in the competition, and that's why they hired the choreographer, but they realized the choreographer worked for like 5 other teams, so they all have the same routine. But then the person comes up and says, well, you were champions last year, so you're already guaranteed a bid. I'm like, well, wait a minute, if they're already guaranteed a fucking bid, why the fuck did they have to do this cheer in the first place? If they're already guaranteed a bid, if you're already guaranteed to go up there, then why would you risk hurting anybody in case a cheer went wrong? 1-1-1-1. To do this fucking thing. If you're already guaranteed to go to the competition, why are you doing this practice with all these other people there when you don't need to do it because you're already guaranteed for the be in the competition? Like, why are you doing this then if you're already guaranteed? It's like the script didn't think that through. Well, we gotta find a way for them to realize that the routine they're doing was actually the choreographer fucked them over and did it somewhere else. Well, okay, have them be part of this practice to bid, even though they already got the bid, so them doing this is pretty fucking pointless. They didn't really... Like, even if they did well, what would that have proved? Well, you got the bid. You already got the bid anyway, but you'll get the bid again. I just don't understand why this became so successful. They got 6 fucking sequels. I just people really into cheerleading. I don't know. I mean, the only positive to say is Kirsten Dunst and Eliza Dushku were not awful. But I could barely buy them becoming friends. I mean, there are scenes of them doing it, but it's like hard for me to buy it still, and it just came off as a bit empty and lack of development and kind of not much worth, not much depth, not much to laugh at. Kirsten Dunst has an annoying little brother who he was playing Twisted Metal. That's why I want to play that Twisted Metal video game instead of watch the movie. Or there's a point that I got something to tell you and he farts on her. Like the shit little brother he is. You know, in a weird way, this made me think of a film I liked a lot more, The Replacements, with Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman and Jon Favreau. That was a movie that at first I think was going to be much more R-rated in the terms of like Longest Yard, Burt Reynolds type of thing, but then they made it a bit more, silly, goofy, but that one I had a lot more merit and fun with, to be fair, compared to this. Again, maybe the subject matter didn't do anything for me. If you don't do this type of... I think if it was like Best in Show, which was about a dog competition, but I was like a huge fan of that film, but I appreciate that more with what it was trying to do in terms of try to be a bit more creative or try to be more clever, not creative, try to be more clever in humor. I don't know, man. This is just not my cup of tea. It's just not my taste. Sorry about that, Charzhino. Which is, I mean, I'm a 40-year-old guy. Maybe cheerleading comedies about girls, and I mean, unless they're naked, then I don't really give a shit. And in college, just to be fair, these are in high school, so I would not want to see that. If they're in college, then I would care. So I can't even think about that in this because I'm like, they're too young. Ugh. If they're in college or, I don't know, 40 years old, 40-year-old cheerleader, that's more my cup of tea. Or at least, 25. At least 25. So I can't even enjoy it that way. So fuck. I at least build up Gabrielle Union's group and see like the way they train with the way they train, the way Gabrielle Union's a leader compared to how Kirsten Dunst is a leader, how their team works compared to their team, and how each have their flaws, each have their strengths, have this kind of back and forth. Maybe one of those that we'll train together. Just we don't trust you to steal our shit. We want to make sure you're on the up and up, and then they have like they're in the same gym and they'll lock eyes on each other. There's like some teammates here have back and forth, some teammates there. Some become dear friends, some become enemies. And you don't have to bring race involved either. It could just be literally some become friends because they're into the same thing. Some become enemies because of silly things or stupid things or legitimate things. Maybe that could be more interesting. That's just me, though. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. I would prefer maybe that type of movie. Here, I think what it is, the characters just didn't seem that interesting to me, and as a comedy, I didn't think it was that funny. Peyton Reed, I think he got lucky with the first Ant-Man, because he doesn't seem that much of a director compared to all the other stuff he's done. And again, a meh love story, and to repeat myself, yeah, lack of development in some stuff. So that's just me, though. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye bye.